I'm tapping in. Thank y'all for tapping in the Yocuzpodcast, man. All the late night, man. Y'all know what it is, man. We're gonna bring the pain, man. We're gonna bring the pain. Why not? It's snowing outside. So make sure y'all subscribe, like, and drop a comment out this episode, man. We definitely lit the night, man. You feel me? Shout out to all my guests. Shout out to my team, man. We lit. Y'all already know I'm gonna hold this shit down till the wheels fall off. Let's go. Listen, man. We tapping in the night because we definitely stuck in the snow. So y'all already know that we turn up. Thank y'all for tapping in. So look, we still talk about these ICE agents shooting people and doing all raggedy things, man. And ain't nothing happening to these ICE agents, man. This is bad what's going on in the world, but what can we do when y'all done voted Uncle Trump in the fucking building? But that's all right. PSA ain't gonna waste no time. I'm about to turn up. But thank y'all for tapping into the late night show. And we lit. Let's go.
Sure you've seen at least the clip we've showed, if not the longer video, Geraldo. So pick up with your own thoughts today.
Well, you know, I believe that one word that's been missing here is reasonable. Would a reasonable person in the situation that officer was in fear that his life was in danger, so much so that he had to use deadly force to mitigate the threat? I can't see, and with Niall on this, I cannot see for a minute any kind of reasonable justification. There is blood in the snow in Minneapolis of a 37-year-old innocent white woman driving an SUV, shot dead in the streets of Minneapolis by masked ICE agents. Where the hell do you spin that set of facts into an act of domestic terrorism? By using those words, domestic terrorism, and attempting to brand this situation with that label, you are making an obscenity of the reason you need deadly force. It is absolutely without. You don't have to be an expert. You look at the video, you see what happened. This was outrageous, Connell. This was something that I think was.
So the president's basic argument, I know what Noam said, like you said, the president's basic argument is a woman was driving, was disorderly, obstructing and resisting. Okay, so that first part of it, Geraldo, in terms of resisting, you would say, well, they did approach the car, there was some resistance to put the car in reverse. But then this next part, he says, and then then violently, willfully, and viciously.
No lie, right? This story right here is crazy. So let me give you my opinion on this story, right? The lady girlfriend was talking trash outside of the truck, but the girlfriend was driving the truck, right? The lady was 37 years old. The ICE was in front of the truck. Why? We don't know. Then you had another ICE agent on the driving side of the truck where the lady was driving the truck, right? On the driver's side. She tried to get away. I don't know why she pulled off. I don't know why she tried to get away. I don't know why. They probably was drunk. Who knows, right? So she tried to get away and she did run the ICE agent over, right? So the other ICE agent that was on the driver's side, he the ones that fired the shots into the truck. That's what went on, right? I'm trying to figure out this, right? Why he was in front of that truck, bro. But y'all know how they've been going so hard. They've been going so hard with this motherfucker ICE agent. They killing people, hurting people. So they probably was being scared, but at the end of the day, so they son never was fucking with them people though. Real talk. Let's go. That's my opinion.
Ran over the ICE officer. So that's where you're taking issue, I suppose.
What if you can create your own website by saying, this is what I want? With Wix, you can.
But that's just not true. You could be in the 3rd grade and look at the video and ask yourself, is the situation the president in his Truth Social post is describing real? Is that reality? Or is the reality rather that This woman, for whatever reason, maybe she got involved. Maybe there's video that shows that she was acting in a disorderly fashion. I don't know. I didn't see
Yeah, we don't
anything
even know her
like
name.
that. We don't know. But what I do know is that she's dead. And why is she dead? I've been in many, many situations where I felt my life was threatened in the news business over these many, many decades. There's not a soldier or sailor or Marine that I have or airman that I have stood next to, or a cop. We love cops.
Yeah.
None of them would have used deadly force in that situation, because what that cop did was beyond the pale. It is indefensible, and that is no way that you're going to spin what I saw into reasonable. That wasn't reasonable. There wasn't an imminent deadly threat. We've all been in situations far more perilous than that, and now she's dead.
See, the live video coming in.
Does her
We've
family
gone back
know
to
her yet?
earlier. They're throwing the snowball. No, I don't know. They didn't say her name. This is earlier what Ali shot. The video from right now, 3:10 p.m. Central, is of I guess a makeshift vigil that's now been set up on that corner where this took place, that intersection 34th and Portland. Okay.
Walk us through what you see when you look at this new video.
Well, it confirms what we talked about just the other day, is that we know that when she stepped on the gas, the officer was in the line, in position where he could be hit by the car. It looks like the car does make contact with him, and that escalation rises to the same level where he can use deadly physical force, because the car can be considered to be used as a weapon at that point.
That was the one in front of the truck. He's the one that fired the pistol.
Because your sound policy would be for the officer to get out of the way of the car, but the threat that car poses does equal the amount of force that he used.
Yeah, I'm looking at the DHS guidelines. I have them right here in front of me. The DHS use of force policy says that deadly force shall not be used solely to prevent the escape of a fleeing agent, but it allows deadly force when the person in the vehicle is using or imminently threatening deadly force by means other than vehicle, or is driving in a way that poses a threat. Chief, what is that? I mean, it looks like, based on the DHS guidelines, that he was following DHS policy when he did this.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Elizabeth. So that clearly, as you just indicated, that's their policy. But when you start investigating, and I know Tariq will agree with me, when you start investigating these critical incidents, it goes, policy is a huge piece of that, but they're also going to look at training, and also the investigation is going to be critically important. The cell phone video that we have of the ICE agent involved is a critical piece of the overall evidence that's going to be collected and gathered. But the other officers, the other ICE agents, if they had body-worn cameras or other video, that's going to be important. Talking to the witnesses at the scene, getting what their observations were. Was there any intel or information leading up to the time that they approached Ms. Good at that intersection? So it's a very important piece of evidence, Elizabeth, but it is still just a piece. I would say that particularly 72 hours into the investigation, I'd be cautious for everyone to draw conclusions just based on this. But it's an important piece. But certainly more of this investigation has to be done. And people, quite frankly, Elizabeth, have to believe that it's going to be a thorough and fair investigation.
Well, that is a problem, because we have local officials saying they're being cut out of the investigation and saying that the investigation can't be fair. We have federal officials saying this officer did nothing wrong, case closed, in essence. Chief, isn't that a problem when it comes to public
that's
trust?
a problem.
I mean, for everybody, by the way, for everybody, because if this agent really did nothing wrong, he deserves an exoneration as well by whatever this investigation might provide.
Elizabeth, you're absolutely right. And that's why it's so critical,
My opinion is he should never fired that pistol, though, for real. Real talk, he should never fired that pistol, dog. They be so happy to grab that gun and fire that gun. That go for the regular police officers, too. All of them so happy to grab that gun and fire that gun, bro. That's why some of them don't need guns. That's why most people don't need guns, man. Because they so trigger happy. You feel what I'm saying? Then by them being trigger happy, man, they kill people, man. You feel what I'm saying? That's why some people don't need guns. But what can you say if you go in there and you could pay something and get a gun license? Whoopie-doo. You feel what I'm saying? But that shit is not safe. It's not safe at all, man. It's not safe. I don't give a fuck.
People can, if people believe that the investigative process is being done fair, without favor or bias, they may not agree with the outcome at the end, but at least they have trust in the investigation process. And so that's going to be critical. Your reporter, Allie, just mentioned that another 800 or so agents are going to be coming into the Twin Cities for this surge. But for these federal investigators that still have to door knock in that community, in that neighborhood, asking for additional cell phone video, trying to get witness statements, trying to get ring door camera footage, I mean, that could impede them if the community already feels that they can't trust them. So, so it is my hope that the FBI or those folks doing the federal investigation will reconsider at least bringing in the BCA or another independent, because for the officer involved, you're absolutely right. If the facts prove that he's exonerated, you don't want that hanging over your head.
Right, you want people to believe the conclusion of the report, or at least not argue that it's completely bogus.
We have got to the point where literally anybody can build a fully working app without knowing how to code. This is
He writes, quote, "The parallels between that moment and today's events are haunting." Michael Gould joins us live, founding member of the NYPD K-9 unit. Welcome to the show. Welcome back to the program. Good to see you. I mean, this is an incredible piece that you have written about your own experience. So walk us through what happened to you back in 1982.
Yeah, Laura. So my event, I was a rookie officer, 1982. I was walking a foot post in Queens on Northern Boulevard during rush hour traffic. Cars were coming off the Queensboro Bridge in traffic, heavily trafficked. And I had a report of a car that was wanted for a double homicide in the Bronx. I looked, and the car was within 100 yards of me. It's, again, blocked in by traffic. Never expecting it to lunge, I went towards the car. I drew my service revolver, pointed directly at the driver, which my training insisted you do. You shoot for center of mass, not expecting to shoot. I expected somebody seeing a uniformed police officer in broad daylight with a gun pointing at him that they would not advance on me. The car lunged at me. I fired 3 rounds. The windshield shattered. The car proceeded into the oncoming traffic and killed a motorist coming in the other direction. A motorist, the father of 2, on his way to work. He was killed dead. I missed my target. I didn't hit them. They ducked down, but they chose to lunge and move this this is a 3,000-pound projectile. It's not just a car. It's a missile coming at me. So my instincts was to fire 3 rounds.
And that's the training, right?
That is the training. Back then, the question is now, why are they shooting so many rounds? Then it was 3-round bursts. We only had 6 shots. We'd fire 3 rounds to see what happened, and then you would reassess the target and fire another 3 rounds.
A very similar situation, but again, you were after a suspect, a homicide suspect, and we're talking about something very different here, but still the same, of a vehicle lunging towards you. And you're right, you wrote in your piece, I mean, it happened in 3 seconds. You know, when people are saying, well, why didn't they shoot the tires? And that's a big question that we keep hearing. Why didn't they shoot the tires? Why don't they shoot the tires?
That would be, look, I was pointing point blank and I missed my target. So just imagine in that 3 seconds, how am I going to shoot the tires? And the ricochet, this is my biggest concern. I missed my target. My concern was, did my rounds go and hit a child walking on the street? These are things when you're in that moment of time and the adrenaline hits, you have tunnel vision. I'm not talking to my fellow officers. I'm not talking to anybody. I'm hyper-focused on the occupants of the car who ducked and eventually killed somebody. So the fact of the matter, I was exonerated. You don't have to be right or wrong. You have to use objective reasonableness. So the question, and that's what this is going to come down to, what's really bothering me is this political rhetoric on both sides. This is not partisan. Both sides are throwing bombs, terrorists, soccer moms. None of this is related to the facts of the matter. And that's all that this is going to come down to.
Facts.
And there's more investigation to go. I mean, we've got more witnesses that need to be interviewed and probably more video. I also spoke to a couple who was on the street when this happened. They witnessed it. We talked to them yesterday. Let's take a listen.
Thought that they were trying to target a house, and so I was taking video, kind of searching both sides of the street. I started crossing the street to get to the other side to see if there was something over there that I could see, and it felt safe enough that I was safe crossing a street. you know, with traffic and that sort of thing. And then I heard the 3 shots and the boom of her car hitting the light pole and the parked car across the street. And I just knew that she'd gotten shot.
I mean, it's really incredible that more people weren't injured. I mean, that car went flying. It hit a parked car. And to your point, what happened with you in a similar situation, that vehicle went into another vehicle, and there were other people around and other cars around, right?
Absolutely. And all the training in the world, Laura, I've been through the New York City Police Academy, the National Academy, the FBI National Academy. You can't duplicate being run over by a car or being shot dead on the street. So these things happen so spontaneously and so quickly. As Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan until they're punched in the mouth. Then everything goes out the window. So you could be the most experienced officer, or you can be just out of the academy. These things are spontaneous events, and it has to be viewed from the officer's perception. That's all it is. It's his unique perception. And that's what the Supreme Court has ruled on.
And what's really interesting about this case, we've got the witness video, the bystanders who were filming this, and if we could put it up, we have that new video, the POV of the
new video
ICE agent who had his cell phone out and was filming, and you can see his reflection in the car. He's walking around. You can see him doing a video, going around. We see him have an interaction with the driver who was moments away from being shot, and then he has an interaction with the wife in the back of the car outside. So as you're watching about that, you're watching this video, you've heard it. I know you've watched it a couple of times. I'm just wondering what you think about the officer's POV on that cell phone.
Yeah, well, I would argue that they should have their own body-worn camera. That would happen. But he
I don't
was
know
taking
why
a
they not.
preventive measure. He was not expecting to get run over by a car. I used to direct traffic right out here on 34th Street and 8th Avenue. I put my hand up. The anticipation was somebody would stop, not come and run me over. So I think this took everybody off guard, and it's an anomaly. Most people abide by what a police officer asks you to do.
Michael, I just want to tell our viewers and have you look at the screen as well. Right now, we're looking at, this is a live feed coming to us from Minneapolis, and we're looking at protesters who appear to have been hit with tear gas, pepper spray. I'm not really sure what we're looking. Okay. These are live pictures, and a protest is going on. So what we're seeing is 2 people there kneeling on a sidewalk in the snow. They're asking for help. They're getting their eyes flushed out with water. It's part of the protesters who are blocking ICE agents in that area. A lot of activity right now on this block. We're getting more information that's coming to us right now. But again, these are live pictures right now in Minneapolis. What are you seeing as you watch this along with us? We're watching protesters again, apparently interfering with ICE operations on the streets of Minneapolis. So here we go, and we're watching it live together.
Yeah, Laura, this is deja vu all over again. I've experienced this for half a century of political unrest and law enforcement being the target of it. Again, it's fueled by politicians. This is not actually, the protesters are really, and police are pawns in this situation. The politicians are behind microphones and on their soapbox on both sides, and they're fundraising off of these events, which is the most despicable thing, to be clear, on both sides of the aisle. Not right, not left. It's the political situation and just the toxicity of our today's politics is horrible.
So what we're looking at right now for our viewers, we have got a live shot right now coming to us from Minneapolis. There are protests going on in the streets and apparently blocking ICE operations that are happening there on the street. We're not sure if ICE agents are approaching a house and these protesters are alerting people. That's kind of what we've been seeing, Michael, is we've been seeing these protesters blowing whistles and bullhorns and yelling and making as much noise as possible. It reminds me of something that's out and about, where people are, making all this noise.
They going crazy, Mo.
Something is about to happen, that an ICE agent, that a caravan is coming their way, either to warn them to get out or just to warn them that it's coming. But that is what we are seeing right now. And we've got Mills Hayes that is in Minneapolis. Hopefully we'll get a chance to check in with her. I don't know if she's on this block right now. But back to what we were talking about in terms of the ICE agent who shot the woman in the car. let's talk about the amount of time that it'll take. How long did it take in your investigation? Again, you were involved. You had to make that split-second decision to fire your weapon into a vehicle that was lunging at you. How long did that investigation take? Walk us through that. It was back in the 80s, but it's not a 3-day thing, right?
Absolutely not. It's not a 3-month thing. So ironically, in those days, it didn't even make it on the 6 o'clock news because in the 80s, there were 2,000 homicides a year. So this was just another day in paradise in the Big Apple.
Right.
But there's going to be so much civil litigation in this involving the Minneapolis police. There's so many things that no one should be opining on it. Laura, if you went to report on a homicide investigation that's taking place right now, they tell you no comment, it's an active investigation. Here, both sides are throwing bombs. They've already have this person accused. And the only thing that's going to do this is the Justice Department, and he's going to be tried. He has a presumption of innocence. I don't think he'll get to the trial, but there's a presumption of innocence.
Sure.
And that's what our nation is built on. The rest is back like the Salem witch trials or something. We just, the citizens are enraged and they're being it's being stoked by politicians.
Right.
Period.
I mean, this is just an incredible event that we're watching unfold in real time with our split screen right now in Minneapolis. We're watching protesters who have been hit with some kind of chemical agent, perhaps, tear gas or something. We've watched 2 people on the ground getting their eyes washed out with water. We want to direct people to your website. What is your website?
K9EXP.com. The letter K, the number 9, EXP.com.
I'm David Lichtenstein. I founded Lightstone.
It is the top of the hour. I'm Nicole Burley, live in Chicago. This is News Nation Live. Thank you for sticking with us. We do continue to follow breaking news out of Minneapolis, where there has been confirmation a 37-year-old woman was shot and killed by an ICE officer in Minneapolis earlier today. Let's get right out to News Nation's Allie Bradley, who is live on the scene. Allie has been out there throughout it all. Allie, we just heard there from officials in Minneapolis. What more can you tell us?
So we obviously have heard from DHS, where DHS is saying that the officer here fired defensive shots, saying that an agitator was blocking the roadway. That person then tried to weaponize her vehicle and run into these ICE officers. But there are some conflicting reports. The mayor saying that the defensive argument is not a good one, saying that this woman was driving away, was not actually using her vehicle as a weapon. So the body camera footage, the ring camera footage, things like that are going to be very important to the FBI's investigation, who is now working on this jointly with local police, Minneapolis PD, the sheriff also down here. But ICE and Border Patrol are essentially gone from this scene. But let me move out of the way so you can see the protesters here kind of facing off with the local police right now. There's some new fencing up here, some caution tape and things like that. But all of these people down here are calling for that ICE officer to be arrested. They're saying that everyone down here that is manning this area needs to go and arrest ICE instead of standing here and enforcing this cautionary zone. But when it comes down to what we've seen here, the protests right now are essentially pretty calm, but earlier they had escalated pretty quickly because Border Patrol was on scene. Some of their Borstar agents were actually trying to leave, and when they were leaving, they started throwing snowballs and other objects at the Border Patrol agents. So they started firing these lethal munitions, which then caused things to ramp up really, really quickly. Things escalated. Then we actually saw them bust out the back window of one of the Border Patrol vehicles and smash the front window as well, throwing things at that agent that was trying to leave, calling him a coward, all of these things, even formed a human chain at one point. And that's when they had to deploy more tear gas and more pepper balls. One guy actually was shot directly in the face with some of those canisters. And so we've seen things escalate here. We've seen things really unfolding in that way where people are frustrated because of the scene that happened here earlier this morning. So this is at 34th and Portland. This is just south of Minneapolis where we are. And this whole scene is extremely blocked off. We have things. So this guy right now is talking about the airbag in the car. I believe we actually showed images of that as well. That individual, if we can pan over this way, I don't know, Rod, if we can show it. But the scene here is still really active. The vehicle she was driving is that maroonish colored Honda SUV. That one is rested up against a telephone pole. That's the one she was driving. And again, the mayor telling ICE and Border Patrol to get the F out of Minneapolis. Of course, he didn't censor himself when he made those comments, but he's saying that they're going to counter this with love. Take a listen to what the mayor had to say if we have that sound for you.
We are better than a bunch of ICE agents being deployed to cities around the country and ripping apart families and communities. We're better than that. And so we are going to meet that hate with love.
So this is a very active investigation, Nicole. As I mentioned, it's going to be really interesting to see how this unfolds when they gather the footage, when they gather those eyewitness accounts and things like that, saying that the woman was trying to drive off when they fired those shots. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this all unfolds. But again, the FBI is conducting their investigations. Right now, they're still on scene. So are local police, and the streets are still blocked off. We've seen some prayer visuals happening, some people gathering, praying, and things like that. But other than that, things have been remotely calm on this side of the street here, Nicole.
All right, Allie Bradley, live for us there in Minneapolis, where people are certainly hoping that things will stay calm there. Allie, thank you.
Former Republican governor of Minnesota, Tim Pawlenty. Governor, welcome back. Always good to see you, sir.
Good to be with you, Hannah, and the News Nation viewers.
Let's talk about the current state of your state. There are thousands of people there protesting, frustrated with how the Department of Homeland Security is operating in Minnesota. What would you like to say to them this morning?
Well, of course, people can exercise their First Amendment rights to free speech, but you don't get to throw things, you don't get to hurt people, you don't get to break things. And so far, the protests have been mostly peaceful with some exceptions. So that's good so far. And hopefully Minneapolis and Minnesota has learned the lesson from the George Floyd riots that you cannot be late in responding to violent protesters. So if this turns violent, they need to respond appropriately and in a timely fashion.
And what about the people in your state? What would you like to tell them?
Well, obviously, we have people that have split mind. Of course, our hearts go out to the family members and loved ones of the victim in this case. But as we all watch these videos from different angles, people are reaching very different conclusions. And of course, that's like most things in politics. But one aspect of this that really I've been reflecting on, Hannah, is the city of Minneapolis and the state of Minnesota are, unfortunately, in my opinion, sanctuary cities and sanctuary states. So right from the get-go, they said, we're not going to cooperate with ICE. You had the governor calling ICE Gestapo. You really had sort of a pre-agitation by certain public officials, or at least resistance to what ICE is trying to do, which is enforce the law. So if the locals won't protect ICE and won't help them in an orderly fashion, and ICE doesn't trust the local officials to cooperate with them and share information, of course, you're going to get chaos, and that's what we have.
We know that more agents, as many as 1,000, are on their way to Minnesota. What would you say to the president and his administration about sending more agents to your state?
Well, the volume of agents, I don't think is the issue. I think the issue is how do people respond to that? ICE has a legal mission, which is to enforce immigration laws in this country. There's over 1 million people over the years who've been designated for deportation.
Hello.
Yeah, so I ain't never tell you about last night, right?